Welcome, beautiful damsels. The most powerful force in a woman is not what you see, but what she knows she doesn't have to show. In a world that often categorizes strength by the loudness of one's voice or the aggressiveness of their presence, the Sigma female moves like a quiet storm. She isn't the one vying for attention in the room, nor does she announce her power with declarations. Yet, there's something about her, a commanding presence that feels both captivating and unsettling. What she may not realize, however, is that the very essence of her independence, her stoic resilience, and her unshakable sense of self mirrors many qualities often considered masculine. Here's the twist. Despite being unbothered by traditional gender expectations, her most defining characteristics may be far more masculine than even she understands. And that realization reveals something fascinating about her unique identity. Let's unravel what truly makes a Sigma female a force in disguise. Number 1. She leads without trying. She doesn't have to push, pull, or shout to lead. A Sigma female's leadership isn't something she strives for. It's simply who she is. While others might work tirelessly to position themselves at the top, she moves in a way that naturally draws people toward her. There's an almost magnetic quality in how she carries herself, calm, composed, and deliberate. It's not about controlling others or asserting dominance. In fact, she rarely seeks the spotlight. What sets her apart is the quiet confidence that comes from truly knowing herself. Her actions are precise, her words meaningful. She listens more than she speaks, and when she does speak, people pay attention. Not because she's loud, but because they trust her judgment. They sense that she's thought it through, that she understands the bigger picture, and that she's not swayed by the whims of the moment. This is what makes her leadership so profound. She doesn't demand loyalty, but it's given freely. Without ever trying to, she commands the respect of those around her. Her authority isn't manufactured or forced. It's earned through her consistency, her clarity of thought, and the way she moves through the world without apology. People follow her not because she asks them to, but because they can't help but feel that she knows exactly where she's going. Number 2. Comfortable in a man's world. A Sigma female doesn't flinch in environments that most might consider out of her element. Whether she's at a table full of executives, immersed in a debate, or discussing subjects like finance, tech, or sports, she doesn't just survive, she thrives. Unlike those who adapt to fit in, she moves through these traditionally male-dominated spaces as if they were made for her. There's no hesitation, no second-guessing. She's comfortable in places that many would find intimidating, and she doesn't feel the need to make a statement about being there. It's not about blending in or trying to be one of the guys. She's not performing. Instead, her comfort comes from an inner self-assurance that's rare and often misunderstood. She doesn't see gender barriers the way others do. To her, interests and environments aren't restricted by labels like male or female. They're just spaces she feels drawn to, and once she's there, she excels. This natural ease can be disarming. People expect her to be out of her depth, yet she's anything but. She isn't trying to prove she belongs. She knows she does. There's no need to announce her competence. The way she navigates these spaces, how she contributes to conversations, how she holds her own without posturing, is what sets her apart. She doesn't have to push against stereotypes because she simply doesn't acknowledge them. In a world that still expects women to fit certain roles, she rewrites the rules without ever having to say a word. Number 3. She faces conflict head-on. When conflict arises, a Sigma female doesn't flinch or back down. While others may try to avoid tension or smooth things over to keep the peace, she meets challenges head-on with a calm yet unshakable resolve. She doesn't waste time on emotional games or passive-aggressive tactics. Instead, she gets straight to the point, addressing the issue directly with logic and clarity. It's not that she enjoys confrontation, but she understands that avoiding it only prolongs the problem. She sees conflict as a necessary part of life, something to be dealt with, not feared. Her approach is refreshingly straightforward, cutting through the noise and drama. She doesn't let emotions cloud her judgment or allow others to manipulate her through guilt or pressure. She sticks to the facts, and while she's never cruel, she doesn't sugarcoat the truth either. This directness can be startling to those who expect a more emotional response, especially from a woman. But for her, confrontation isn't about winning or losing. It's about resolution and moving forward. She knows when to stand her ground and when to compromise, but either way, she never sacrifices her principles or lets others dictate how she should feel or react. Her ability to face conflict with such clarity and composure makes her a force to be reckoned with. She's not interested in being liked if it means compromising her values. She's focused on doing what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. People may not always agree with her, but they respect her for her honesty and unwavering strength in the face of adversity. Number 4, her words cut with precision. A Sigma female's words are sharp and deliberate, carrying a weight that makes people stop and listen. She doesn't waste time on filler or meaningless chatter. Every word she chooses has a purpose, and she knows how to make her point without needing to repeat herself. There's a clarity in how she communicates that sets her apart. She can break down complex ideas into simple, actionable steps, making even the most difficult topics feel manageable. Her precision in speech often surprises people. She's not one to dance around the subject or sugarcoat reality. Instead, she speaks with a quiet confidence, making her presence felt without raising her voice. She knows that true power isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about being the most thoughtful and impactful with what you say. What's striking is how effortlessly she cuts through the noise. While others might get lost in the emotional weight of a conversation, she stays grounded, guiding the discussion with logic and reason. She doesn't need to dominate the conversation to be heard. When she speaks, people naturally give her their attention, knowing her words will carry insight. Even in situations where emotions run high, she remains calm, her words measured and to the point. She doesn't react impulsively or let her emotions dictate her response. Instead, she waits, analyzes, and speaks when it's most effective. Her ability to stay composed in heated moments shows a level of emotional intelligence that few can match. People remember what she says not because of how loudly she says it, but because it resonates. There's a lasting impact in her words, a sense that she's gotten straight to the heart of the matter with minimal effort. This ability to communicate with such precision and purpose makes her stand out, and those around her often find themselves replaying her words long after the conversation has ended. Number 5, her body language speaks authority. Even when she's completely still, a Sigma female commands attention. Her body language speaks volumes without her saying a word. She doesn't fidget, doesn't shrink into the background, and doesn't try to make herself smaller. Whether she's sitting quietly in a meeting or walking into a room, there's an undeniable presence about her. It's not something she consciously does. It's just the way she carries herself. Her posture is naturally strong, and it reflects a quiet confidence that people notice immediately. She doesn't have to perform or put on a show to be seen. There's a calm self-assurance in how she moves, stands, or even just sits. It's the kind of energy that draws attention, not because she's trying to get it, but because she's completely comfortable in her own skin. What makes her so captivating is that she doesn't need to dominate a space to own it. She doesn't rely on big gestures or loud words to make her presence known. It's in the subtle things, the way she holds her head high, the steadiness of her gaze, the way she takes her time when moving or speaking. There's no rush, no nervous energy. She's perfectly at ease, and that ease is powerful. People often mistake quietness for passivity, but with her, it's the opposite. Her stillness is intentional, her movements controlled, and it makes her seem almost unshakable. When she does speak or act, it's with purpose. Her body language reflects someone who is in control of herself and her environment without ever needing to assert dominance aggressively. It's as if her very presence tells the world, "I'm here, and I know exactly who I am." This natural ability to command respect through her body language alone sets her apart. She doesn't need to make demands or fight for attention. It comes to her effortlessly because she exudes a sense of authority without ever saying a word. That quiet power is magnetic, and people can't help but notice her, even when she's not trying to be noticed at all. Number 6, emotional control as a weapon. A Sigma female has a remarkable ability to manage her emotions, a skill that sets her apart in a world often driven by emotional responses. While many people let their feelings dictate their actions, she maintains a level of control that is both impressive and insightful. She experiences emotions deeply but doesn't let them overwhelm her or cloud her judgment. When faced with challenging situations, she processes her emotions internally, keeping them in check. Instead of reacting impulsively, she takes a step back, evaluates the situation logically, and then responds in a measured way. This ability to separate her feelings from her actions ensures that she makes decisions based on what's best, not on what she's feeling in the moment. Her control over her emotions doesn't mean she's detached or indifferent. Far from it. She understands and respects the role emotions play in life, but she doesn't let them steer her off course. She's able to stay calm under pressure, handle stressful situations with grace, and navigate interpersonal conflicts with a level-headed approach. This emotional discipline is not just about maintaining a facade of composure, it's about being genuinely in control of her responses and actions. What's fascinating is that this control allows her to be a pillar of strength for others. People often turn to her in times of crisis, knowing that she'll handle the situation with clarity and calm. She doesn't get swept up in the chaos. Instead, she provides a steady, rational perspective that helps others find their way through difficulties. This emotional management also fuels her resilience. When faced with setbacks or failures, she doesn't let frustration or disappointment derail her. Instead, she learns from her experiences and uses that knowledge to move forward. Her ability to remain composed helps her adapt and recover, showing that emotional control is not about suppressing feelings, but about harnessing them in a way that drives personal growth and success. In a world where emotions often dictate actions, her ability to control and channel her feelings effectively gives her a unique edge. It's a powerful form of self-mastery that not only enhances her decision-making, but also solidifies her reputation as someone who can be relied upon in both calm and stormy seas. Her emotional control is not just a personal strength, but a strategic advantage that underpins her success and influence. Number 7. She's unafraid of risk-taking. A Sigma female has an appetite for risk that sets her apart. She doesn't play it safe, nor does she let fear control her decisions. Where others might hesitate, weigh every possible outcome, or stick to what's comfortable, she steps into the unknown with a sense of purpose. She understands that growth, success, and true fulfillment don't come from staying in familiar territory. They come from pushing boundaries and embracing uncertainty. What's remarkable is that her risk-taking isn't reckless. She's not jumping into situations blindly or driven by adrenaline. Her boldness is calculated. She takes the time to assess the landscape. But once she's made her decision, she commits fully. There's no hesitation, no second-guessing. She knows that any worthwhile achievement comes with an element of risk, and she's more than willing to face it. Her willingness to venture into uncharted territory makes her stand out. Whether it's in her career, her personal life, or even in her ideas, she's unafraid to challenge the status quo. She doesn't wait for permission or reassurance from others. If she sees an opportunity, she takes it, even if it means stepping outside her comfort zone. She understands that nothing extraordinary is ever achieved by staying where it's safe. And when things don't go as planned, she doesn't crumble. She's resilient enough to handle failure without letting it define her. For her, failure is just another step in the process of success. She learns from it, adapts, and moves forward, always with her eye on the bigger picture. Her mindset isn't focused on avoiding failure. It's about finding new ways to succeed, even if it means taking risks others are too afraid to face. This bold approach to life, this willingness to risk what others wouldn't, fuels her growth. It's what sets her apart from the crowd and why she often achieves things others only dream about. She knows that the greatest rewards come from facing the greatest risks, and that knowledge drives her forward without fear or hesitation. Number 8, she values logic over emotion in decision-making. When faced with a tough decision, a Sigma female doesn't let emotions cloud her judgment. While others may be swayed by feelings or the opinions of those around them, she leans heavily on logic and practicality. She's able to take a step back, remove herself from the emotional noise and see things clearly for what they are. Her approach is grounded in reason, and it allows her to make decisions that are not only effective but often ahead of the curve. It's not that she's cold or unfeeling. She understands emotions and experiences them deeply, but she knows there's a time and place for everything. When it comes to making critical choices, she prioritizes what makes sense over what feels good in the moment. This ability to compartmentalize gives her an edge, especially in high-pressure situations where emotional reactions can lead to poor outcomes. She asks herself, what's the smartest move, instead of, how do I feel about this? And this clear-headedness sets her apart. She's not swayed by temporary feelings or external pressures. Instead, she relies on facts, data, and logic to guide her. She weighs the pros and cons, examines the long-term consequences, and makes choices that are strategic rather than reactive. This mindset often allows her to see opportunities and solutions that others, caught up in their emotions, might miss entirely. People around her may find this approach surprising, especially in a world that often expects women to lead with their hearts. But she's not interested in fitting into stereotypes. Her focus is on what works, what's sustainable, and what will lead to the best outcome, not just for herself, but for everyone involved. And more often than not, her decisions prove to be the right ones, precisely because she didn't let fleeting emotions guide her. This logical approach to life gives her a sense of control and balance. She knows that emotions are temporary, but the consequences of a poorly made decision can last much longer. By trusting her intellect and intuition, she moves through life with purpose, avoiding the traps of emotional impulsiveness. In doing so, she builds a reputation for being someone who can be trusted to think things through and make the tough calls when it matters most. Number 9. Competitive spirit in a quiet form. A Sigma female has a deep-rooted competitive drive, but you'd never guess it by looking at her. She's not the type to flaunt her ambitions or openly challenge others. Her competition is quiet, almost invisible to the outside world, but it's fierce. She doesn't need to prove anything to anyone but herself. That's where her competitive fire burns the brightest, within her own mind. She constantly sets new personal goals and standards, always pushing to outdo her last achievement. Whether it's mastering a skill, advancing in her career, or simply growing as a person, she's driven by the need to keep improving. But what's intriguing is that she does all this without making a big show of it. While others may loudly broadcast their victories, she works in silence, letting her results speak for themselves. Her competitive nature isn't fueled by the desire to defeat others. She's not interested in petty rivalries or comparisons. Instead, she's focused on becoming the best version of herself, knowing that the only person she's truly competing with is the person she was yesterday. This internal competition is what keeps her constantly moving forward, setting higher goals, and achieving things that seem impossible to others. Even though she's not openly competitive, people can sense her drive. There's something about the way she carries herself that shows she's always striving for more, even when she doesn't say it out loud. It's in the way she quietly works behind the scenes, tackling challenges that others might avoid, and never backing down from an opportunity to grow. Her competitive spirit is also what makes her resilient. She doesn't get discouraged when things don't go her way. If she fails, she learns from it and tries again, always determined to come back stronger. She's not afraid of setbacks because she knows that they're just another step toward success. For her, the challenge isn't in beating others. It's in pushing her own limits, testing her own strength, and proving to herself what she's capable of. This quiet, self-driven competition is what fuels her success. She's always moving forward, always striving to be better, but never needing to shout about it. While others are busy competing with each other, she's focused on her own path, determined to go farther than anyone expects. And she does time and time again because her greatest competitor is the one looking back at her in the mirror. Number 10, she builds, not follows. A Sigma female isn't one to follow trends or wait for opportunities to come to her. She creates her own path. She's not concerned with fitting into a mold or following in someone else's footsteps. Instead, she's busy building her own blueprint for success. Whether it's in her career, her personal life, or her passions, She's the architect of her own future. When she sees a gap or an opportunity, she doesn't just see it as a chance to follow a pre-existing path. She envisions how she can forge something new. Instead of adapting to the norms, she challenges them, reinventing what's possible and setting new standards. It's not about rebelling for the sake of it, but about pursuing what she believes in and doing it her way. She doesn't wait for approval or for things to align perfectly. If she sees an area that needs improvement or a niche that's underserved, she steps in and makes things happen. She's proactive, taking initiative where others might wait or hesitate. Her approach is often unconventional, not because she's trying to be different, but because she's focused on what works best for her. This drive to build rather than follow means she's constantly innovating and evolving. She's not content with the status quo. Instead, she's always looking for ways to improve, grow, and push boundaries. Her personal and professional achievements are not just about climbing a ladder, but about creating her own new heights to reach. Her unique path is often what makes her stand out. She's not defined by traditional metrics of success or societal expectations. Her accomplishments come from her own vision and determination, and she often ends up setting trends rather than following them. People see her as a pioneer, someone who creates opportunities where none existed before, and that's what makes her influence so powerful. In everything she does, she's a builder, not a follower. Her legacy is one of innovation and self-determination, reflecting a mindset that values originality and personal drive over conformity and imitation. And in doing so, she carves out a place for herself that's uniquely her own, proving that real success comes from forging your own path, not from walking in someone else's footsteps. In conclusion, a Sigma female embodies a remarkable blend of independence, resilience, and quiet strength that defies conventional expectations. Her unique approach to life, marked by an intuitive grasp of leadership, an ease in high-pressure situations, and a fearless pursuit of her own path, sets her apart in profound ways. She navigates challenges with a clear, logical mind, tackles risk with calculated bravery, and remains unfazed by societal pressures or emotional turbulence. Her ability to manage her emotions, create new opportunities, and thrive in solitude highlights a depth of character and self-assurance that is both captivating and inspiring. Rather than following trends or seeking validation, she forges her own way with confidence and clarity, continuously pushing the boundaries of what is possible. Ultimately, her story is one of true self-mastery, demonstrating that extraordinary strength lies not in conforming to expectations, but in embracing and amplifying one's unique traits and values. Her life serves as a powerful reminder that greatness comes from within, and it is through embracing our deepest selves that we truly make our mark on the world. If you found this exploration of the Sigma female's extraordinary qualities as captivating as we have, make sure to subscribe to our channel. By joining us, you'll get access to more in-depth analyses and inspiring content that delves into the traits that define exceptional individuals. Don't miss out on future insights and stories that challenge the norms and celebrate unique strengths. Hit that subscribe button now and be part of a community that values and understands the extraordinary in everyday life. Thanks, damsels, for tuning in. See you in the next vid. Bye and stay blessed.